The darkness didn't last forever. It broke slowly like dawn behind storm clouds when Marlene heard someone calling her name through a thick, muffled haze. Marlene, Marlene, wake up. Her eyes snapped open. Fluorescent lights burned overhead, humming faintly. The smell of chlorine clung to the air. She was still in the pool house, but something was different. The room was spotless. The shattered door repaired. No dust on the floor. No shadows lurking outside. The pool water was unnervingly still, like a sheet of blue glass. She sat up quickly, pulse hammering. Maya, Frank, Lisa. Her voice echoed, but no one answered. Her heart kicked. She stood, legs unsteady, scanning the room. Everything was arranged neatly, chairs stacked, life preservers aligned. Even the cleaning closet door shut tight. She felt like she'd stepped into the HOA brochure version of the pool house, not the one she'd nearly died in. Just then something flashed past the window. A silhouette, tall, thin, holding something. Marlene pressed her face to the glass. It was a man with a clipboard, except not a man. Not fully. His posture was too rigid, his joints too sharp, his movements too precise, like a department store mannequin dragged to life. He turned his head slowly, mechanically toward her, and smiled. Her breath caught. "That's not possible," she whispered. A door behind her creaked. Marlene spun around. Frank stood there, pale as chalk, gripping a pool skimmer like a spear. "You're alive," he breathed. "Thank God. I thought." He didn't finish, because behind him stood Myra and Lila. Their faces were blank, drained of color, their eyes unfocused. "What happened to them?" Marlene whispered. Frank shook his head. "I don't know. They just woke up like this. They follow me around, but they don't talk. They don't blink. I tried shaking them, yelling at them. Nothing." Leela turned her head stiffly toward Marlene. "Compliance is peace." Her voice was flat, robotic. Myra echoed. "Compliance is safety." Frank backed away. "They've been saying that, over and over." From outside, a chorus of voices rose. Dozens of voices, all chanting the same phrase. "Compliance, compliance, compliance." Frank dropped the pool skimmer with a clatter. "We have to leave. Now." Marlene nodded. "We'll go out the back toward the nature trail." They pushed through the rear exit, expecting to see trees, grass, the open path that wrapped behind Willow Bend. What they saw instead made Frank gasp. The trail was gone. Overgrown with twisting vines, thick, dark, unnatural vines that hadn't been there hours ago, and not a foot beyond them stood dozens of figures. Some tall, some small, some human, some not, their heads tilted in eerie synchronization as Marlene and Frank stepped out. Lila and Myra followed silently. The chanting grew louder. "Compliance, compliance." Non-compliance detected. One of the smaller figures scurried forward. It moved from too fast, too low to the ground. Its limbs were the size of a child's, but too many joints bent in too many directions. It held a clipboard. On it was a list of names. Frank leaned in despite himself, eyes widening. "Marlene, our names are on this list." Beside each name was a status. Lila Bloom, compliant. Myra Dutton, compliant. Frank Waddle, pending. Marlene Pritchard, critical. Frank stumbled backward. "Critical. What does that mean?" The figure clicked its pen. The vines around them rustled. From the shadows emerged a larger form, towering, broad, with the hulking posture of a man, but its face was smooth, featureless, like clay before sculpting. It raised a hand. Silence fell instantly. Every figure, human and otherwise, dropped to its knees. Frank whispered, "What in God's name?" Marlene stared at the faceless form. "What do you want from us?" she demanded, voice cracking. The figure tilted its head. Then, in a low, vibrating voice like metal scraping stone, it spoke a single sentence. "Restore. Original. Conditions." Frank blinked at her. "What does that mean?" Marlene swallowed hard. She knew. She'd seen it in the old developer blueprints, in the files no one was supposed to open. "Willow Bend," she whispered, "was never meant to be a neighborhood." Frank stared. "Then what was it?" Marlene's voice trembled. "An experiment." Frank paled. "On what?" "Us." The faceless figure raised its hand again. The vines shifted. The smaller creatures scurried forward. Human residents began stepping from behind bushes and hedges, all wearing blank expressions, murmuring the same word. "Comply, comply, comply." Frank grabbed Marlene's wrist. "We've run Now, they darted left, squeezing between two monstrous vines, sprinting toward the line of oak trees behind Lot 81. The figures pursued, not running, but gliding, as if the ground moved for them. Frank gasped. "They're hurting us. They want us somewhere specific," Marlene panted. And she knew exactly where. The old storm drain. The one the Henderson boys saw the clipboard men standing over. The one maintenance records kept flagging as urgent. The one built before Willow Bend existed. As they approached the drain, the chanting grew louder, echoing through the concrete walls. The faceless figure appeared behind them, blocking the path back. There was nowhere to run. Frank pressed his back to the storm drain grate. "I don't understand why us. Why this neighborhood?" Marlene stared at the towering creature. Because Willow Bend was a testing ground. A controlled environment, a self-regulating system. The faceless figure glided closer. Marlene whispered, voice trembling, and HOA was the perfect cover. Frank blinked. The HOA was the experiment. "No," Marlene said softly. The HOA was the control mechanism. The figure stopped inches from her face. Its blank surface rippled like wet clay, reshaping. Then a mouth formed, a wide, unnatural mouth. "Reassess," it whispered. "Recalibrate. Restart." The storm drain beneath them vibrated. Light seeped through the cracks. Frank cried out. Marlene, the ground, the metal grate beneath them glowed white-hot. The chanting reached a fever pitch. "Comply, comply, comply." The faceless figure lifted both arms. The earth opened. The storm drain yawned wide like a metal jaw. Marlene felt gravity give way. Frank grabbed her hand. They fell. Into blinding light, into cold, rushing air, into darkness. When Marlene woke again, she was lying in her own bed. Birds chirped outside. A lawn mower buzzed in the distance. The smell of coffee drifted from the kitchen. Sunlight streamed through the blinds. It looked like a perfectly normal morning in Willow Bend. "Marlene, honey." A familiar voice called. "Breakfast is ready." She froze. That voice wasn't human. It was almost human. A little too smooth, a little too calm, like an automated customer service recording come to life. She turned slowly toward the bedroom door. A silhouette stood there, tall, thin, holding a clipboard. "Good morning," it said with a gentle smile. "We've updated the community guidelines. There are several new rules you'll need to follow." Marlene's breath caught. Her eyes darted to the window. Every resident stood outside their homes, perfectly still, smiling, clipboards in hand. The figure in her doorway stepped closer. "The HOA has been restructured," it said soothingly, "and you have been reassigned." Marlene swallowed hard. "Reassigned to what?" The creature leaned down, its smile widening. "To compliance." And outside, the entire neighborhood whispered in unison, "Welcome home."